Hi everyone. Today we're going to be going over the features of the mouth very quickly. Just a couple of things that make it much easier for the mouth to draw. As I always, when I'm looking for the, once I've drawn the head, the egg-shaped oval, figured out the proportions and whatnot, and know exactly where the mouth is going to be placed, it's in the bottom third. I like to find the center line of the mouth, and a great way that I like to think to always find the center line is just using this example right here. So I think of the center line of the mouth is basically looking at a bird flying in the air off in the distance. So this would be the body right in here, and this would be a wing, and then this would be another wing. The top section here, which is the philtrum, is also just kind of, if you just do just an indication of this, it also looks like a bird that might be flying. So just with those two simple shapes, I find that very easy to then connect to everything. Once you get the idea of that, then it's just a matter of the head's turned in different angles and so forth, and I'll go over just a couple of examples of that now. It's just a matter of applying that to, rather than a flat surface, you want to apply it to a rounded surface. So what I did here is I took an egg-shaped oval, and basically if you think of the bottom or the front-facing area of a soda can, or any kind of a glass jar or so forth, the mouth is basically, it's rounded. So I chose to use the egg-shaped oval for this purpose. And then I found this center line coming here to turn the mouth, and then the center line this way. And I want to make sure that I wrap the mouth around this oval. So it's not sitting on a flat surface, it actually is on a curved surface. It's so important to think that even when the mouth is front view, it's still going to be wrapped around a curved surface. It's not on a flat surface. And here's another smaller one that was done real quickly, showing just an indication here. This is all on this plane. Then the nose, the base of the nose and the cat shadow will fall on this plane. The mouth falls on this plane. The lower lip falls on this plane. And the indentation of our chin falls on that plane, and then on the base of our chin falls on this plane. So everything will wrap around in those planes. And that's really important thing to think of. So now, I'll go over this, the front view of this, and we'll shade this a little bit. So we started here, we have the wings of the bird, and the mouth, the corner of the mouth always needs to end. You don't want to just leave it at a sharp edge. So you want to have a little indentation on the corners. Then we did this top section that we talked about here, which is sort of another bird flying. And that's how we draw in the top portion of the wing of the mouth, the top portion of the wing of the mouth here. And then the bottom, we want to just come from this area and wrap around, and it connects on the other side. Some people have a little bit of variation in the character down here. It'll go at a different angle, but if you keep that in mind, then you can adjust it accordingly based on to the character of the person of whom you're drawing. So there's several planes to the upper lip. First of all, if light in nature typically comes from above, I'm going to choose to have the light coming from above and from this side for today's purposes. And so it's basically the upper lip is going to have a tone over all of it. So I'm very quickly just going to put a very light tone over the whole other lip, up on the upper lip. So all of it will fall into shadow. And as you can see, it already gives a sense of light coming above on the top. Then this comes over, falls into shadow. The lower lip will have more light on it, and there's typically a highlight right in here and in here in this area, and we'll get to that eventually. But it's more complicated than just this. So if I like to think there's a section here, there's an area here, and an area here. It forms sort of a triangular shape. So everything that's on this side is going to be a little bit darker, especially as it comes down toward the center line of the mouth. So if you're trying to make this very realistic, you want to think of all these separate planes. There are multiple planes to the upper lip. It isn't just a flat surface. Then there's a little bit of this area here, this rounded ball. It's sort of an elongated oval, and then we have one on this side here, and then that is going to have a little bit more light on it and then fall under into shadow. Right on the edge of the lip, we'll have a dark area, but this section here is going to have a little bit more light on it. Same in here. This will have a little bit more light, and this plane underneath has a little bit more shadow. And depending on the individual, you might see some of these lines, these fleshy folds. And then this area up here, which is known as the philtrum, is going to have a little bit of a tone coming through here. Right on the edge might be a little bit darker, and it's going to get softer as it comes in. This section on the other side will have a little bit of light hitting it. And then you'll have a little bit of a tone on this other side, possibly. If the light's coming from here, this is going to wrap around the form, so we want to have a little bit of a tone, and it'll come into the corner of the mouth. And then I want to have a little bit, make sure that philtrum has a little space because there's a little bit of light that comes through here. Now you can get a little bit of darkness here on this edge, and then sometimes we'll cast a little bit, it's very subtle, but it'll cast a little bit of a shadow into the inside. I like to think of the philtrum as kind of a little bowl that maybe could hold a little bit of moisture in there. And then this center line now will have a bit of a cast shadow onto the lower lip. So we can have this a little darker in that space. And the lower lip, it's helpful to think that you have kind of an almond-shaped oval through here, an almond-shaped oval through here. And then you have this edge of the lip will be a little bit darker, and then there's a little bit of a shadow through here, the core shadow, and a tiny bit of reflected light on the edge. There's going to be creases in the lip that come out here, and they wrap around, and so this bottom section here is going to have a little bit of a tone on it. And same in here. And then as we get to the corners, it's all going to fall into shadow, because remember, light's coming through here, so everything on this side will have a plane. We'll cast shadow there. A little bit softer underneath here. And then one thing to think of is underneath this lower lip, we go down to this little indentation of our chin. So this falls into shadow underneath. And it's going to kind of wrap around through here and through here. So you have the orbicularis oris muscles that wrap around the mouth and through here. We're not going to actually draw the muscles today. We're just going to focus on the shading of the form. So all of that falls into shadow. All of this falls into shadow. And the corner of the mouth, I want to have a tone, because you want that to end so it doesn't look like it's just a cut. And as you carefully shade this, it should start to look a little bit more and more realistic. And darken that center line just a little bit so we see that it has a shadow on the lower lip. That shadow on this side. And then, so right through here, and you want to put your shading on in a way that it actually works with the form. So you don't want to just go like this. You actually want to sculpt it and wrap it around. So right through here, I'm going to wrap my highlights with the form. I want to make sure I shade with the form. And then this little section on the lip, lower part of the lip is going to have a little bit of a highlight as well. And we have a little bit of highlight here on the philtrum, and on the other side here, and on the top. So very subtle. And there's going to be a little highlight in here where the muscle goes and wraps over the maxilla. And the edge of the philtrum has a highlight. And in there. Highlight on this oval part of the lower lip, oval part of the lower lip. And that kind of gives you an indication of the shading, how you would shade the lip. So now we're going to do, we'll go over this. So the concept here is we had this wrapped around the sphere. What do I do is now if we're looking at a mouth that's slightly from the bottom view looking up, then the sphere, the cylinder is turned away. So we can see the front side of a cylinder and then it turns away. So all your lines need to wrap around the cylinder as if they were turned away. Light's still coming from above, so this top plane is still going to fall into shadow. So I'll very quickly just put a tone on all of this here. And a little tone in here in the philtrum. And again, so underneath, so now because the plane was wrapped, here we have the lower lip wrapped around this way, as seen directly from the front view. But now we're looking up at the under, so now we want to make sure we turn the lip this way. So we're seeing the bottom plane underneath here. We still have the little almond-shaped ovals in here. And that little lip on the so now we're going to wrap this around in here, wrap this around in here. And remember, we're keeping in mind here to shade with the form so that it becomes more sculptural. lip connects to the upper lip in the corner. And remember, we want to put a soft tone here in the corner. Soft tone here in the other corner. Now, remember, we have this triangular portion in here. So this section is going to be away from light. So I want to make sure I put a tone on it. And there's a little bit lighter, slightly lighter area in there. Slightly lighter area in here. Darker through here. And this would fall into shadow, this side. And we'll now make sure we get the cast shadow in. So we got the crease of the mouth in here. And right in here, remember, we have to have all those values of shading. So you want to have core shadow, half tone, the area that has light, and then underneath here falls into shadow. And I'll just blend that down. I'll put a light tone on over this. So now same thing, go in with the highlights. We're going to run our highlights right in through here and have it come through. And a little bit of light on the edge of the lip in here. And through there. And might have a little bit lighter area in here. Just a little in there. Highlight through here. And right through here. On the top plane. Let me soften this right through here. So that it's blended more carefully. And a little bit of light in there. So again, you want this to wrap around, and then on the other side, we want this to wrap around. So that we can tell that it's looking somewhat from the bottom up above. And then a little corner here we'll have shadow. can increase this shadow just a tiny bit. So that's the normal view, that we would see somebody if we're looking directly at them. This is a view if you were down a little bit lower looking up at somebody. Now what I thought I'd do here is just for fun is do one where somebody has their lips somewhat pursed. So then they're kind of flexed in here. So we have now, we go up a little further. This one we go up a little further. Again, this is all going to fall into shadow, but now because they're pursed, we might have a little bit more of a rounded area in here that you're going to see a little bit of light on possibly. And then you'll see a little bit more creases on the upper part of our lip in there. But again, it's still all going to fall into shadow because the upper lip is somewhat absent of light. Unless, of course, somebody's holding a artificial light source down below. And then this top section here, right on the edge of the plane, will have a tone. Because remember, light has to remain with the inside the form, not on the edge of the form. And we'll darken this a little bit more to make it more dramatic. And then here we have the little creases of the flesh wrapping around. And we have the oval that comes through here, the almond-shaped oval through here. And let's get a cast shadow, a nice cast shadow in between the lips. The upper lip casts a shadow on the lower lip. And right here, and then the lower, beneath the lower lip, it falls into shadow. Remember, that's one of the things that separates the humans from the other greater apes is we have chins, and the greater apes, the other primates, don't have a chin. So there, that plane on the side. This plane in here, so it's a little bit more rounded. This plane in here, so it's a little more rounded. A little bit of reflected light underneath. And now we're going to have a little bit of light up in here, a little bit of light up in there. We'll have highlight through here, through there. A little bit of light on this edge in here. And on the philtrum area. And let's get a little tone in here. And so that's the idea of how you would draw a pursed lips, pursed set of lips. And remember to get shadow in the corner here. So let's soften that. Let's soften that here. So, and then let's do one more here, and then I'll finish the rest in the time lapse. But let me do one, go over one, just to review one with you. Here we'll do this, the mouth and profile. So basically the concept here where we have the bird flying, the side view is basically just, you're seeing just this portion of the wing from one side. So you just think of, you still have the bird, but you're only going to see one side of it. Then when we have this little triangular section in here, that's the little triangular section you see in here. There's a little bit of light that sometimes can fall here, but then the rest falls into shadow. So basically the upper lip, just remember to always put a tone on it so that it's always in shadow, and it's a little bit darker right here near the edge. And it's darker through here with a little bit of reflected light. And then it gets to the corner, it gets soft. And then it casts a cast shadow. So the inside of the mouth here casts a shadow onto the lower lip. Just like we had this darker through here, we want to make sure that we have this darker in the fold, cast shadow in that fold. And then we have this sphere. So remember, we have this sphere in here, that almond shape. We have that here. And then we have a little bit of light on the edge there. And then it's going to fall into shadow underneath as it moves down toward the chin. And then this section of the lip where it connects through here is going to have a little bit of a tone. And we have a light soft tone in here, and there would be a bit of a soft tone. The light will fall more through here on the top portion of the lip. So remember, the muscles that wrap around the mouth are the orbicularis oris. Around the eyes, it's the orbicularis oculi. Around the mouth, it's the orbicularis oris. And then we have the muscles in the shading also would be running around underneath in here, and then coming up underneath the lip. So that kind of sums up what you really need to know about the mouth. The main things is to keep in mind that that center line is like a flying bird. Top portion goes in this way and this way. Also, if we just look at that section right here, it's also like a flying bird. This is a flying bird. And you can see that very consistently through all of these. Now, as you start to draw different individuals and different ages and whatnot, sometimes the upper lip is very thin. Sometimes it can be slightly off-kiltered. There's times when some people have very full lips and it can be much thicker. And this is just kind of a general idea. And when you're drawing different people and you're trying to capture the character of each of the individuals, you would just alter that. Knowing the anatomical structure and how it should be, you just alter that to suit the needs of the portrait of the person that you're drawing. So the mouth, I think, is a little bit easier to draw than the nose. What the hard part for the mouth is knowing when the head is turned is how to shorten it. So a really helpful thing, and let me just go over that real quickly here. So we have this center line, and this has to wrap around. And what happens is a lot of times when you're beginning, you have to think that this plane here, this triangular plane, comes in front, and then the wing has to go behind and come down. So we go here and here. It has to wrap around the edge of the plane. Then this comes out. So it goes out and back, then it goes out and around. And that's what makes it go, it enables it to turn. So I did that here. So I did this wing here, and I did that. So it has to turn on this plane. The lower lip has to turn on that same plane. The chin turns on this same plane. And then the bottom base of the chin turns on that plane. The mouth ends in the corner here. The mouth ends in the corner there. And then the cheekbone, if we were drawing the full head, then this would be on a larger egg-shaped oval that would come through here. So we can have a series of egg-shaped ovals. I just wanted to show this bottom plane. And that the mouth, so that you can see the mouth actually fits on the front of, I like to think of it as a soda can or a bottle. There's something that wraps around. It's not on a flat surface. It has to go around. So make sure you always get the mouth so that it's wrapping around the form of the skull that's underneath. So I will take, I will stop here at this point, and then I will spend a few minutes here doing a time lapse, and I'll shade the rest of the features and try to put in just a little bit more detail so you can see what all the images look like shaded. But basically, that's the general idea. Just think of the bird in the side view. Just think of half a wing, and you'll be in good shape. You can draw the mouth all the time. Sitting in class, you can just sit there and practice drawing mouths. It's a lot of fun. And I hope you found this to be somewhat useful. So now, here we go to the time lapse.